Testimony is underway in day 3 of Steve Bannon's criminal trial in Washington.
The former Trump White House strategist is facing 2 counts of contempt of Congress for refusing to cooperate with the Special House Select Committee investigation into the January 6th insurrection. Committee aides are testifying the panel's subpoena wasn't optional. They say Mr. Bannon is needed as part of its investigation. However, the former advisor to President Trump's lawyers argue that he was merely negotiating with the committee. Let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane for more on this. Scott, welcome. So what are the biggest takeaways from the first 2 days of witness testimony?
Yeah, Elaine, it's been just one witness so far, a staff counsel for the January 6th Select Committee, and it's been pretty cut and dry. They're asking this attorney about the subpoena issued by the committee to Steve Bannon, about the date on it in October 2021, whether it was delivered properly to Bannon's defense attorney. The attorney said yes, and they showed evidence of the email chain between the two. What's more, this cut and dry testimony really speaks to the limited amount of defenses Steve Bannon is being permitted in this trial. The judge has precluded some of the things Bannon wanted to do. He wanted to call the U.S. House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, and the members of the January 6th committee as witnesses at this trial. The judge said no, they're just not relevant to whether there was a subpoena deadline and whether you defied it. The cut and dry testimony is going to be followed by some cross-examination from Bannon's defense attorneys, but there's very limited latitude. They cannot argue this is a political prosecution. They went back and forth on that this morning, and the judge again ruled out that defense or that line of questioning.
Well, Scott, to that point, let's dig into that a little bit, because U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols says he won't let Bannon's trial become a political circus. How exactly does he plan to weed politics out of this high-profile case?
Proactively, possibly, Tanya, because after each of the first 2 days of proceedings, Steve Bannon had an audience outside the courthouse, and he uncorked his opinions about the January 6th committee, the chairman, about politics, about the legitimacy of the 2020 election after the proceedings. So he's using the media throng to espouse his opinions and to platform his opinions about 2020 and about this committee. The judge does not want that in the courtroom, so it's still far from clear whether Bannon would try to testify, but the judge has precluded arguments about political bias or a political motive to the prosecution. So this trial that Steve Bannon had characterized as medieval, that he said would be the misdemeanor from hell, is actually quite dull and quite dry, and Bannon has been silent in the courtroom throughout.
All right, we'll continue to watch that. On another topic, Scott, the Secret Service failed to meet the House Select Committee's Tuesday deadline to turn over a slew of deleted text messages exchanged within the agency on January 5th and 6th. Now, in turn, the National Archives and Records Administration is demanding answers on how that happened. Is there any way, Scott, to retrieve these texts? And what does this mean for tomorrow's primetime January 6th committee hearing?
Yeah, rhetorically, that really is the question for members of the committee, Elaine. What does this mean for the hearings? We know they wanted to get these text messages to review them and have them as a potential piece of evidence for tomorrow night's primetime hearing, or just to inform them ahead of tomorrow night's hearing, which we've reported before is going to focus on what the committee characterizes as dereliction of duty by the former president during the Capitol riot. Knowing what the Secret Service was texting each other on January 6th might have helped their cause or helped inform them better. Do the messages exist anywhere? Well, the Secret Service is indicating they're gone. They're wiped, they're deleted, they're not retrievable. The deadline for the agency to hand over these texts to the committee came and went, and the text messages were not delivered. The range of reaction is striking to this failure to produce the messages by the Secret Service. We've had members of the January 6th committee call it shocking. Some have called it crazy. Some have said, isn't there a way, some way to dig in and find this data somewhere, especially inside an agency which specializes in this type of forensic work with phones? But what's clear is they're not going to get these messages in time for tomorrow night's hearing, and it's increasingly clear they may never get the texts.
Interesting. All right. Well, Scott MacFarlane, thank you so much for your reporting. Scott on Capitol Hill. Thanks.
Thank you.